Hello guys, welcome to the channel, Velocette fan, and thanks for joining me on yet another ride on the KTT. Just keeping her going here for a minute. Right, let's pull away then, see if I can get into first without any major crunching. Yeah, that's not too bad. Right, off we go then. So, right, got a bit of a horse on the loose here, because obviously my bike scared it. So let's take it a bit easy round here. Yeah, I know, horsey, can't help it, she's a loud beast. Right, and we're off. She's a little flyer. So, title of the video, turning dreams into realities. So please engage, please, if you have turned a dream into reality, doesn't matter what it is, it could be a motorcycle related one like my one today, or it could be I don't know, bought the house of your dreams, or you wanted to kiss a man and you tried it out, you know, I just don't care, whatever it is, let's hear it, because changing dreams to reality is obviously glorious and wonderful thing to do. On this ride, before I get into my the dream element thing that I was on about, I will say just watch out for these horses. They're a bit scared, especially the little baby one. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, I was going to say this ride that I'm on is currently my favourite ride for the Velocette KTT. Now, obviously, the previous video that I did last weekend was the favourite destination, but that's a bit of a different thing, you see, because that ride, I go somewhere, I stop, and I'm always going to bump into other bikers, and I can have a nice bit of conversation, you know, a bit of socialising. This one, I don't stop, I just keep on riding. So it's more of, like, say, a ride where I don't have to deal with traffic lights and traffic and that kind of stuff, because like I said before about the non-idle element and the bump start element. So yeah, so this is my favourite ride for the bike, not my favourite destination. This is just a little loop I will do. And it's through the New Forest. Now, obviously, as you've seen, can you move over, please? Bloody hell, winds me out. I know I shouldn't get round up. Anyway, yeah, it's through the New Forest, and as you've just seen with those horses, it's not ideal from the horse element. And also with the horses, they just had their little foals, so so they are a bit skitty, if you like. So yeah, but anyway, it's ideal because it's country roads, country lanes, no aggro, so it's wonderful. So, right, back to the topic of the old dreams thing. So yeah, so this bike is clearly my dream bike. My first ever Velocette was GTP. I bought that when I then joined the owners club. And at the time, the GTP was really cheap. It was like you got the LE, which was very cheap, and then you had the GTP. I think they're both 2-strokes. They were both very, very cheap. Whereas now a GTP seems to be similar price to a Mac. I'm just going to watch out for this horse. Yeah, similar price to a Mac. Or even a Viper possibly. People are asking quite big money for a GTP, but when I got it, it was just I needed to get into the classic motorcycle world, and I wanted a 2-stroke, and like I say, the GTP looked fine. So yeah, so that was probably the reason I found the GTP. I'd never heard of Velocette before that. So anyway, then I got more involved with the club, and so I got more of an understanding, shall we say, of what it was I wanted. And although I went through a couple of other Velocettes, again, affordability is what obviously governs these things. I realised I wanted the overhead cam, and especially the Mark 1 version of that. So I bought a restoration project. It was a complete basket case K&S, but what I really wanted was the KTT, and that's because I've got a fascination with having race bikes on the road, and yeah, it's a bit insane, but I think that's probably part of my personality. You may have figured that from watching some of my videos on YouTube. So yeah, and then so I just thought, well, I'm never ever going to be able to afford one of them, and that's why, like I say, I found this K&S. It was actually even in a different country, so I had to import it, but they were so rare and hard to come by, or in my impressions they were. Perhaps they weren't, and maybe I was just too impatient and didn't spend enough time looking, but because I thought they were so hard to come by, I bought the one that was, like I say, from another country. Yeah, and I just wrote off the idea of a KTT. I was like, no, it's not going to happen. Simple as that. And I suppose there are different. There's different models. There's obviously the Mark 1, the Mark 4 that I'm on today, and then you do have some 5s, but they're incredibly rare. I don't know if there's ever a 6, or it might be mysterious, like sort of like a maybe jockey. But then you got the 7 and 8. So anyway, I suppose in theory I wanted either a Mark 1 or Mark 4, and then I did some more research, and I was like, yeah, I want the Mark 4 because it's got the subframe and slightly more advanced stuff on the engine. And one came up for sale within the owners club, so I was like, well, you know, this seems really good, because like I say, they hardly come up for sale ever, and this one had just been recently put back together, but it had been sat dormant for 60 years, so I felt this was the best option for me, because it was one that someone had already spent the time to get it back together and wasn't a pile of bits, but also it retained all of its originality through the fact that it wasn't used for 60 years. So anyway, so then of course the element of dreams to reality comes along, and I'm sat there thinking, I just don't have the money, just do not have the money. But I also realised that this thing is up for sale within the owners club, and that's the only place it's up for sale. If it had gone to eBay or Bonhams or whatever, I think it would have been gone really, really quickly. So I was like, well, this is, like I say, for me it's a golden opportunity. But at the time I was on furlough, so my company, we had the COVID situation, and my company put everyone on furlough, so I was on 80% pay. And I didn't even know if I had a job to go back to, really. It was that bad, because pre-COVID and furlough, they were trying to put us on 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, but the 2 weeks off were unpaid, which I thought was insane. I mean, I can't cut my wage in half, my outgoings meet my income, simple as that. So yeah, very dodgy times, and yet what I decided to do was remortgage my house so that I could buy this bike. And my wife will never stop telling that story to me and probably to others. She's obviously not happy about it. She wasn't happy about it at the time, but I just had to keep sort of reminding them. Well, I didn't really probably discuss it that heavily, but I just kind of said, you know, this is a real good opportunity for me to get this bike. And so I went ahead and did it. I mean, obviously, luckily for me, I'm the only name on the mortgage agreement, so I suppose I didn't need any permission from anyone. I just did it. And that's how I changed my dream into a reality. Although it's, like I say, perhaps not the best method of doing that when you're basically putting yourself more in debt and doing it against the will of your wife. But in reality, it's worked out well. I mean, I know the UK classic bike prices have dropped at the moment, which is concerning. But because I borrowed more money, I extended the term of my mortgage, so I've actually got more years to pay it back. So actually my monthly repayments have dropped, and that's obviously good because I'm struggling with finances currently. I mean, worse than actually ever. And it's not because, like I say, it's not because I've borrowed more money, because actually my monthly outgoings are less. But yeah, so that's what happened basically. And then because I was doing that, the people that were selling the bike were incredibly kind, because what they did is they waited for me to not only sell my other bike. I had an MSS I needed to sell, but I also needed to wait for the mortgage company to give me the loan. Yeah, so they waited probably, I don't think it was 2 months, maybe it was 3 months, but it was between 2 and 3 months before me saying I want to buy this bike to them actually getting the money. And I hadn't paid any deposit, I hadn't paid anything else, but they just stuck with it, and they kind of said, yeah, that's fine, like, you know, if you definitely want it, then we'll wait for you to sort your money out. So yeah, so things can happen and people can be kind. Like I say, in that situation I had a real kindness from the sellers, perhaps because they realised perhaps that if they had put it into auction they'd have lost a hell of a lot of money in fees. So maybe they were like okay with the wait situation, because obviously, yeah, financially it was a better option for them to sell direct to me. But I also got a better price on it because of that. You know, I negotiated, heavily negotiated, which I felt a little bit bad about, but I played on a couple of factors. One was that the older generation that want these bikes are sadly, and to put it bluntly, they're dying off. And so, you know, you've got to look at what's your actual market, you know, audience, what have you got left that the people want it, and then of course who can afford it. So yeah, so anyway, played on that, played on the fact that the commission via auction is probably 20% minimum. When I was looking, it was something like ridiculous, like 25% or 22% under X amount of thousands, and then over X amount of thousands it was 20% or something. But anyway, so yeah, that's that. But yeah, like I say, it was great that they were understanding that I was a young generation taking on a classic vehicle that I was going to keep, well, I intended to keep it forever, and so it's quite important probably for the owner, who was in his 80s, although I didn't deal with him, I dealt with someone else, but yeah, it's probably quite important for them to know that it's going to live on. So there's a few things that helped me out, and it became a reality. But I do remember when I went to view the bike, I went to view it prior to, you know, obviously agreeing to buy it, and I remember being stood there looking at it, and I was there for a good, I'm going to say 2 hours, it might have been longer, and we were just discussing the bike and my finances, but ultimately for 2 hours probably. And I remember not being very enthusiastic about it. I remember just looking at it and thinking, I don't know really. And yeah, I remember like driving home, and then of course it just gets more and more in your brain that you've got to have it, and I became more and more obsessed with making it a reality. But when I viewed it, I wasn't ultra keen, and that is because I've concluded, since thinking about it, that is because I felt it was not going to happen. I felt that I wouldn't be able to get the money sorted out in time, and they would sell it to someone else, and I think I just thought, well, this is not remotely possible. So I suppose I didn't, yeah, I suppose you would say get your hopes up, but yeah, I think I just didn't really think that much about it, because I probably thought, well, it's not going to happen. By the way, where I'm riding at the moment, this bit of all the trees, yeah, this, I know it as Ornamental Drive. There's probably another name for it, but I call it Ornamental Drive. And it's glorious. This bit down here is glorious. Like I say, it's probably one of the nicest parts of the forest. Yeah, like I say, I call it Ornamental Drive, but like I say, there's probably another name for it. But it's fabulous. If you want to cycle around here, come and have a go. Like I say, it's a lovely road. You got, it's, I guess it's sort of like a, I don't know if it's a nature reserve actually, maybe it's not, but you've got, like I say, you've got this long winding road covered by trees. Yeah, it's great. Obviously you just saw back there in the cars, it's a bit of a pain for them because it's a bit narrow, but there you go. And then up ahead I've got to cross a main road, and this is the only bit on this ride that, like I've said, is my favourite ride that I don't enjoy, because I've got to try and probably keep it in first, keep the revs going and wait for an opportunity to dart across a main road where cars, I think there's 60 mile an hour down there, but I'm not entirely sure, but it's, you know, it's not easy to cross. But then you get into the other side of it, which I think again is called ornamental drive, or if this bit I'm on now isn't, that bit there is, sort of thing. As in, like I say, I can't really remember, but it's just, I just know it as that, that's the name I know it as, sort of locally, you know. Yeah, we're just approaching it now actually, this main road jobby bit, but I'm kind of hoping that, because it's quite early in the morning, the road isn't going to be that busy and I'm going to get across. But yeah, so anyway, so like I say, let's see how we get on with this junction here. Oh yeah, this looks fucking hectic, doesn't it? Bloody hell. Fucking hell, I don't know if I'm going to get across here. Anyway, made it. Fucking hell, there you go. Yeah, Rhinefield Ornamental Drive, this section here. So like I say, possibly the other bit wasn't, but it's, as you can see, it's sort of like all one road bar something that's been cut through the middle of it, presumably at some point to aid in the traffic or direct routes, whatever, I don't know what you call it, road improvements anyway. Oh, here we go, back to bloody up and keep the bike going. A little bit too narrow, isn't it? So yeah, so like I was saying before, please do comment with any dreams to realities that you have achieved. Like I say, I'm very interested to hear them, and yeah, it'd be great. So next thing that popped into my mind as I was starting my ride today is the fact that today, I don't know the date even, I'm not very good with dates and stuff, but today, oh Jesus, there's a bumpy road down here by the way, if you're going to ride a Richard, girder forward bike like I am. So yeah, so today is the DGR, the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. So the most local one to me, because it happens all over the world, but the most local one to me is from Poole to Bournemouth, and I've never taken part, so I'm curious again for the engagement of viewers to let me know if they have done a DGR. It doesn't have to be the one from Poole to Bournemouth, it could be anyone globally. Yeah, if you've done a DGR, let me know, and let me know your thoughts on it. Now, I don't know that much about it. I came across it probably when I started getting into classic bikes, and it was yeah, I kind of found out about it because I think originally the concept was to ride a classic bike on this sort of parade, I'm going to call it. But and you obviously, the Distinguished Gentleman part of it is to do with wearing dapper clothing. So you don't really wear normal conventional motorcycle clothing. You wear tweed and what have you. You know, like a deerstalker hat with a pipe or whatever. Anyway, nowadays I've seen a lot more modern bikes taking part, so I don't think it's actually aimed at classics anymore. I think it's just aimed at anyone that wants to take part. I believe it's raising money for, well, I'm not quite sure actually. In my head I'm saying testicular cancer, but I don't know. But presumably because of the fact that it, that obviously affects male people. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of figured it was probably testicular cancer, but like I said, it might not be. Just going to shift down to first here because we're getting snarled up. So that's the one disadvantage this little ride of mine. I think I've done this ride where I was presuming it's, like I say, my favourite ride for this bike. It's been much colder weather, whether it be autumn or spring, and I've kind of got this beast out and gone for a ride. But obviously on a nice day like today, you're going to find the tourists and cyclists and cars and whatever, where obviously, like I say, it's narrow and they can't get by one another. Yeah, so back to the DTR. So yeah, I've not done it, like I say. I know people that have done it and they've enjoyed it, right? So that's why I'm curious to know what you guys think. So what's put me off doing it is the fact that, like I say, it's a parade, and my local one, they go from Poole to Bournemouth, and that journey, you got, like, I think last year it might have been about maybe 2,000 bikes or something. It was it was the largest number of bikes they've ever had to do the event, and so, it's just mayhem because it's not, the roads are not closed. It's not an event like that, so you're having to stop at every set of lights, and that means that you're not riding as one unit. You're kind of like stop starting and then everyone else goes ahead of you. So that, I've heard it's ultra slow. I've heard you're crawling along in first gear and you're just constantly slipping the clutch, and that's what's putting me off. I definitely think I couldn't do it on the bike I'm on today. I think my bike would just overheat and not enjoy it. So I'm going to write this bike off out of the equation. The KNS is obviously the same engine, effectively, the one I'm restoring. It's basically the same engine, but it does idle, so, and does have a kickstart, so potentially I guess I could, if it thought it was getting too hot, I could stop start, I guess. Maybe I could do it on that. But yeah, I'd like to know what people think, because like I said, that's going on today. I'm not taking a part of it, but I was kind of hoping I might come across some dapper dressed gentlemen on this ride so that you guys could see kind of like what it's all about. But like I say, they'll be going from Poole to Bournemouth, and after that they might disperse and go for a nice little ride out here, you see, in the forest or somewhere, and that's why I thought I might catch them. But it's unlikely, because last year on the same day that was the DGR, I went to the location I was at when I rode this bike in the last video, and I didn't see anyone, and yet that place is a hotbed. Like, there's always motorcyclists down there. So yeah, so I didn't see a single one that was from the DGR, which I was really surprised about. I was expecting many riders. But let me know, like I say, DGR. I didn't realise before, I didn't realise it was global. I thought it was just UK. And then I was in Hong Kong, and a mate of mine, he's got a Velocette out there, which is, there's probably like 10 Velocettes in Hong Kong or something, if you're lucky. There was only 2 within the owners club out there. Yeah, he was doing the DGR, and I was like, really? He was like, yeah, it's the same day across the globe, but I guess obviously different time zones are going to dictate. They're not going to be all at the same time, but the same day at least, I guess. So yeah, give us, like I say, give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe to this video, and comment, most importantly. And if you've got anything to say about the DTR, like I say, let me know, because like I say, I haven't ever taken part, and I would like to have people's info or input, experiences, thoughts and feelings on it, because I've got a modern bike which would cope with it, but it is modern, and I don't know if it's quite appropriate, like I say. But if nowadays it's all bikes, whatever you want, bring it along, then I feel I could do it one year. You're supposed to raise money for charity, and like I say, I've never been good at that. Some people at my work don't worry about coming around with a sponsor me form thing, and you say, yeah, I'll sponsor you X. But I find it's a bit I don't know how to put it. I just don't like going around asking people for money, so I don't do that whole raising money thing. But I think you can pay to do the DGR, and I think that then at least means that you've got some money going to the charity, regardless of, like say, fundraising. You're contributing yourself X amount, so that's kind of good. Right, so we're kind of coming close to Brockenhurst now. I don't know if this area here is technically exactly Brockenhurst or not, but this is one of the things I like about my ride, is the fact that I don't enter Brockenhurst. I just get to pass on by the outside of it, which is only because, like I say, this bike being a bit impractical, it just helps me out to keep myself flowing, just keep going and going and going and going. And so yeah, so it's nice. I don't have to go into Brock, but yeah, this is signposted Brockhurst, I think. So right, here we go. A little ford there. It seems to be always wet. Like some fords dry out in the summer, but that one I think stays wet. Now I might give myself a bit of distance to this car in front, because there's a section up here that I like to open it up a little bit. It's like it's not the bit just coming up. There's a bit just coming up which is like a pretty much uphill straight, and you've got a few narrowing points. That's pretty cool. I've ripped it up through here before. But there's another bit, twisty bit after that, which is where I'd like to be able to just play, you know, light this. I say light it up. It's only a 350 of this from, like, yeah, I don't know how old it is now, 90 years old or whatever it is. So no, it's not exactly like I say, like ripping it open, but you know what I mean. Like, you get the feeling like that I'd like to have a bit of a play. Hello, Mr. Magpie. And that includes just throwing it about, because the advantage of a little light bike like this in very, very narrow tyres is the fact that you can really flip it about, and it handles gloriously. So yeah, so it may not have the ponies, New Forest ponies just there, look, but it's got the handling and it's got the class. Any KTT, mate, I'm telling you, it has got the class. There's no doubt about it. I see a lot of bikes actually when I go to my bike meets, and they're all very nice bikes, and you get the brand new Ducati Panigale and this and that, and yeah, they're all cool. You know, I love bikes, any bike, doesn't matter what it is. But I think this bike's got class. Like I said, I'm trying to hang back a little bit here. I just want these guys to jog on a bit so I can rip it a bit. Right, I do think this bike's got class. But one thing I noticed is that, and maybe it's a generation thing, you know, quite possibly that's what it is. Quite possibly the younger generation do not appreciate bikes of this heritage. I don't know, but yeah, when I park my bike up, right, not many people look at it. They're not that bothered. Some of the older generation, yes, like I say, they will want to have a look, and some of them know what it is. Rarely that happens, but some do know what it is. I had Sammy Miller recognise my bike actually. It was parked up, and I didn't acknowledge him in the way I should, and it's because I was like a bit surprised, taken aback, and I wasn't dead cert the minute he started talking to me that it was him, and I heard the accent, Irish accent. I thought, yeah, that's definitely him. And so he like I say, he recognised my bike, and he said, oh, is it 33 or 34? And I was like, it's 34. And as soon as he said that, I was like, man, this guy knows what he's talking about. Because like I say, most people just don't know what it is. Right, here we go. I'm having some. Fucking love it. Great, isn't it? Because this bike does need to be opened up. That's the other thing. Like I've been poodling along back there with some of the traffic and stuff, and now it's giving me like, get on, let's rip it open, boy. Open up that carb. Fucking massive. Yeah, it does have a very large carb rail on this bike to the side of the engine. Where were we at? Oh yeah, so like I say, people don't generally acknowledge or recognise the bike. But, you know, like I say, I'm very, very comfortable with that. It's one of the best things about it, because I do not like people knowing too much about the bike and being too, like, curious. I've had a lot of people be like, oh, how much does it cost you, blah, 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 and I'm like, that doesn't matter. It's not just the fact it's none of your business, but it just doesn't matter. Like, do you like the bike? Yes or no? I like it, and that's all about it. And you've got to take that same principle, that same attitude to when you're riding the bike. You cannot be overly concerned about the fact that it is precious, it is historic, and it shouldn't, oh, I suppose it should be on the roads, but it's sort of technically in that race pedigree. Like I say, not quite, because it's a road racer, and they were sold to civilians. Like this one, I'm pretty certain this one is not a race thoroughbred TT entered bike. I mean, this is just a normal pedestrian, like, you know, thing. But yeah, really, like I say, probably shouldn't be on the road and probably should be mighty concerned about that. But no, you just got to try and forget all that, just block it out and just think, no, I'm out for a ride on a lovely sunny day, and that's all that matters. And you know, yeah, just have fun with it. Yeah, so that's, like I say, that's where I'm at with that, I think. Oh, I'm going to slow down here a little bit. Oh, cyclist, that's fine. I'll get out in a second, it'll be alright. Hopefully I can pass these cyclists without being too close. Yeah, it'll be alright. Good first here was a bit unusual, just like it on a main road, you know. There you go, lovely. And that's the good thing about this bike. People often have the concern, rightly so, can a classic bike be how do we say, not competitive, can it keep up with modern traffic, let's put it that way, right? And the answer is yes. When I need to overtake something, I overtake something. When they accelerate, I keep up with them. I mean, cars, obviously, admittedly, they're not going to be ragging it, and they're not, you know, I'm not saying we're, oh, they mate, thanks for that. I've got no brakes. Cheers, boys. Oh, this is another tempter. Yeah, I'm going to go for it like maybe. Yeah, let's have it. Bit bumpy this road though, so I've got to be a little bit cautious. I'd love to go a bit more, but no, we're settled for this. We'll follow this car, follow his lead, and hope that, yeah, we're doing okay. Right. But yeah, this is a dead straight bit of road, this. I don't know why, like, I don't think it was ever an airstrip. There are airstrips in the deep forest, but they tend to be unused roads. So there's one actually I think of that is still in use as a road. But it's like concrete slab or whatever, whereas this feels like normal tarmac. I can't feel the sort of sectional feeling that you get as you go over an old concrete runway. So I don't know why it was straight. Maybe just someone whoever made the road had this access to this bit of land. Right, hopefully this mate ain't going to pull out. Good. That's the, oh yeah, so we're nearly at the end of the ride, and I've forgotten to mention one thing that I forgot to mention on the previous ride. Yeah, so every time I go out, take this bike out for a ride, every time I'm getting ready to get on this bike, oh bloody hell, I get really, really nervous, right? And yeah, like I just wanted to say that because I haven't quite yet analysed what that's all about. But yeah, I just get so nervous before I get on board. I don't do that with any other bike I've ever owned. And so it's not about power performance, because my other bikes are more powerful and faster and all that. So it's not like being nervous about the performance of the vehicle in regards to, you know, fast and all that stuff. But I think it's because I know that riding it is not like a normal bike. I know that when I'm on it, I need to be aware of what I'm doing, and I need to be able to keep the bike running because of the non-idle element, and the fact I've got to bump start it. I mean, when I first got the bike, I was instructed to bump it via running alongside the bike, dropping the clutch. That's one of the traditional ways of bumping, and the other was obviously jumping on side saddle in races, just so that if it wasn't a successful start, you could hop off quite easily and have another go. I don't like either of those methods. I've tried the running alongside it jobby, but I nearly had a fatal with that, because as I've dropped the clutch, my throttle hand is a little bit too aggressive, and the bike then just starts accelerating away from you, and it makes it even worse. So your hand is then pulling the throttle open even more and more. And yeah, I didn't drop it, so that was okay. But it made me realise, no, I'm not doing it like that. Every other bike I've bump started in the past, in my sort of life of ownership of bikes where they weren't necessarily as reliable as they should be, I've run along and jumped onto the bike, and that's been my method, and that's the method I use now, because like I say, that was a near miss for me. And the other one, the side saddle one, I've just never, I don't know, I've never tried it, but it looks so sketchy. I know I wouldn't be any good for that. So yeah, so that's not an option. So we go for the run and jump on thing, but I think that fills me with a bit of, like I say, nerves, because you just don't know how it's going to go. I mean, although it starts pretty well, I do remember I had a time when I'd left it for a certain amount of time and I hadn't drained out the crankcase oil, so it had sank to the bottom and I hadn't drained that, and it was then making compression a lot more than what it is normally, and I was like struggling to get it to grip, so the back wheel would just skid. So yeah, I think that's possibly it, because you don't know if it's going to start, and then if it doesn't start, you've got to go for it all over again, haven't you? We're in Burley now, just so you're aware. You probably know anyway, I come through here quite often on my videos. But yeah, this is a hot spot for I would say New Forest tourists, that's what I call them. Other people call them grockles, but yeah, the tourists like to come to Burley. There's not a lot here, to be fair, but you have got the forest right there, and you have got an amount of shops. So yeah, that was Burley. And in a minute after this, I'll probably stop the video. We'll see where we get to. I think we'll stop it just about here, because I started the ride just about here when I went to, I think it was the day I did Sammy Miller's auto jumble ride, but I can't remember. You'll have to look at some of my other videos to figure that out. But I know I've started the ride just up round these tight S-bends. So yeah, so we'll stop it there, and all I can say is thank you very much for joining me on today's ride. It's been a pleasure. The weather's been fab, the bike's been fab. Some of the traffic hasn't been, but like I say, I can't really do anything about that, can I? Yeah, well, like I say, we'll stop it there, and if you can engage with any kind of comments, please do. I think that's going to, highlight to the world of YouTube Velocette KTTs. I'm going to try and bust through here. Matey goes, I'm going. Right.